Hello, Joanne from the trunk of your car. All right, it's not quite the trunk, is it? You got to have a
Not
hat.
quite the trunk, but it's close enough. It's close enough. There's a little bit more room.
Okay, so it's like a hatchback or something like that.
It's a Ford Edge, so it's
So
uh
we're on the edge of the world and the edge of
yes.
trying to get a signal for us. So I appreciate that. So we see the your car above your head, the the lid.
The
If you
lid. That's
will.
right.
So we'll just pretend that's the mothership coming to take us away or something like that, since we talk about
That's
those
perfect. We're between two worlds, so that's
things.
what
Yeah, there we
so there we are.
go. So we see the car, and then it's just space behind you. So you literally are sitting between two worlds right now. So I appreciate that. So I had a deck called to me already today, and it is my favorite deck, the map by Colette Baron Reed, and it's illustrated by Jenna Della Bertaglia. And I've been doing a YouTube series on my YouTube channel about how to work specifically with this deck.
And it's an amazing YouTube series. I have not watched all of it, but every time, every one I watch gives me something new.
Ah, that's wonderful. Well, thank you for that plug. While we're plugging things, we should also say that the Good News broadcast, which you're watching right now, is being aired on the Ascension School of Spirituality platform, and we are both mentors at that school. And we don't really talk about that, but I figured that's kind of obvious since that's who's broadcasting us. So it's
Right,
obvious that
right.
that's why it's on their wonderful website. So um, if you're watching our broadcast and you haven't looked around the website, please do, because there's many wonderful mentors on that website.
And that's a fact. That's a fact. They
And
are,
really
there's
good
offer,
people.
you're bound to find somebody that resonates with you if you go onto that website.
Now, I do want to talk a little bit about oracle cards really quick, because I've been asked this question, how we draw a card at the beginning of each episode. And uh, a couple of people have said, well, we don't understand what that is and what you're doing. And so oracle cards are a form of divination, and they help me to get in touch with my higher power, that divine source. And they kind of serve as a communication device. A lot of people can connect without anything. um, for me, this using oracle cards enhance my connection to spirit and to the world that we can't see, and helps me to get messages that bypass my ego, if you will. So that's a really quick version of why I like using oracle cards.
And
um,
and I agree with you on that totally. I think they, especially if you're kind of analytical as I am, it helps me to, once again, to get past myself.
right, and
Yes.
oracle cards use images, and for me, again, being in my head, being all about the mental and the thoughts, when I can feel into the picture and the colors in the card, that helps me open up my senses. And use different parts of me that unlock my intuition and that soul voice. So, my question today was just, what do Joanne and I need to know for today's episode? And
Great question.
I pulled commitment, and it's hard to show the card on here. I know it's
Yeah,
like it,
I'm very familiar with that card too.
yeah, you can't really see it. Um, so I'll describe it a little bit. It's beautiful colors. They're light muted colors, almost like watercolors. And there's a blue sky, and there's two hands. There's a hand like this, and then a hand like that on top of the other hand, and a big ball of light over here where the hands kind of meet. And there's hearts and stars, and there's all kinds of beautiful sparks coming out of that. It's a beautiful picture, gorgeous picture. So we're going to go ahead and see what the book says, and it's number 36. I shall read that, and I pulled it in the upright position. Some cards have a meaning for the reverse position, but this one was an upright. A true commitment is a responsibility of the heart, mind, body, and soul. This is a good time to make one. Partnerships formed at this time are harmonious and powerful. The commitment card also indicates the natural evolution of a relationship from its inception to a literal or metaphorical marriage. At the very least, there is a promise of fulfillment in some form. However, you must be conscious of what you're committing to. Be clear about the nature of your commitment and your responsibility to it. Others are more willing to enter into partnerships at this time. Remember that your partnership with spirit and the highest version of your own self will engage the highest self in another. Well, I think we have a topic for today. Because, the whole time I'm reading that, Joann, I'm like, oh, we're married to each other. like this is our commitment to each other, right? And then those last sentences about, if I commit to my higher power and you commit to your higher power, then that commitment between you and I is just so beautiful and powerful.
I hear you. I hear you. And that's like you said, a beautiful card. And to take it even down a notch, commitment when we're having trouble with technology and you want to just throw the whole flipping thing out the window, but you don't, because it's bigger than that. It's about more than that. It's about being there, not just for each other in this commitment, but being there for the people who've been waiting to hear what we've got to say, and they've agreed that that's their wake-up call before we ever got here. So it's really, really important when we get a passionate feeling about doing something, to know that that's there for more than one reason.
Right. And this is why you're my mentor. Because I kind of see the obvious, in the words in front of me, and then you always take me to another angle to look at it, different perspective. So I appreciate that.
Well, we do that for each other.
Okay. I was pretty frustrated for about an hour before we went live here. Well, we're not live, but, before we started recording. And we just could not get a connection with the technology. So interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, just little things that instead of giving up, you find an answer. And then pretty soon it's no big deal. And if you have a weather issue, we'll figure that out too.
How do I was like getting to the point where I start saying things like, something's interfering with us, or it's just, maybe it's not meant to be and we're pushing it. And this is our self-will pushing because our egos want this to happen, and that's where I struggle at what point do you stop because it's your own self-will run riot, literally, or that line of pushing forward or just stepping back and relaxing, and then if it flows, it flows. And you led me through that today. I couldn't have completed this today if it was up to me, because I was bullshit about everything, and it was like, well, fuck, Spirit doesn't want us to do this. I'm a piece of shit. I was going there. I was going down that spiral. Like, well, who am I to think that anybody would even watch this or want to hear what we have to say? So how do you do that?
Well, for one thing, I was in that same spot. Okay. And I thought, well, I can't do that to Marianne.
So and that's about our commitment to each other then, right?
That's right.
Right.
That's right. But then the other thing is, if we were to do this and nothing ever worked right, then maybe it wasn't supposed to be happening. But that isn't what happens. It's like things get a little challenging and then we do take a deep breath,
Right.
or take a drive up to the top of the hill or whatever. And then all of a sudden everything is okay. It's like, we're situated, I kind of put us in this weird position because of where I live in the summertime. And you never know what's going to happen. But then again, this may just be a prenup for the rest of the world
I
because
love that.
you just never know. I've got a client in Boston who has to stand next to his third or fourth story window to get Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Okay. So we may come into more of this, who knows, but gosh, we're finding ways, we're finding ways to get through it. And look how quickly we can laugh at it.
Yeah, which is good for me.
And me too. Yeah, me
Absolutely.
too.
You
Yeah. So
know, you had to put me in a timeout basically because you had to take this little drive up the hill there, the mountain, whatever. And I said, okay, during that time, I will get rid of all my anger and vitriol and just, get my myself a little bit more spiritual. And I did. So taking that time out, I guess, is one of the ways. And then if we tried this again and it didn't work, then we knew it was probably not meant to be. But it's almost like I feel like I'm going to give up right before the miracle happens sometimes.
right, right.
And that's when, and I guess that's my ego that's coming in going, you know, they, whoever they is, the
Yeah,
spirit, something out there, some mysterious force doesn't want this broadcast, doesn't want you to speak out. And then my ego, see, told you so. It just loves that stuff, right? It loves
right.
those negative messages, and that's where it's comfortable. That's the comfort zone.
It is.
Um,
It is. Absolutely. Separation. Separation is the comfort zone. And we're walking into becoming all one. And it's very, very uncomfortable for the most part. Unfamiliar. Unfamiliar is a better word than uncomfortable, I think, sometimes.
and you know what? It amazes me, Joanne, because yesterday I had a very spiritual day. I did like three meditations with three different groups of people, and by the end of the day, and I had a Reiki session. By the end of the day, I was like Jello. I mean, I was just like love, and I was flowing, and everything was beautiful and wonderful, And then today, I'm like, nah, you
I
know.
know. I know. And that's when we have to turn on our light. And, I find myself constantly saying, I know you're there. I know you're all around me. But man, I need more. I need more support, more support, more support. I know I'm whining, but I'm human. And so I'm whining. And, then you take those deep breaths you're talking about, take a time out and do something good for yourself, whether it's a cup of coffee or whatever, or reading a book that has nothing to do with anything,
Right.
and get it back together. And then usually the first thing I say when I feel that is thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, because gratitude keeps it coming in.
I like that. Gratitude is like the catalyst for that commitment to ourselves and to our higher power. You're right. That always brings me back. No matter how frustrated or angry or worried or whatever that I am, if I start thinking about what I have to be grateful for, that can turn it around like that. So I love that.
Right. Right. I
Wow.
agree.
Well, I'm very grateful for this commitment that we've made to each other, to anybody that cares to watch this, to the school to do this and put this up on their platform. Um, I'm very grateful for that.
So am I. So am I. And I'm grateful that our conversations led us into this. Thanks to you, by the way, because you're the one that came up with the idea. And it's like, we're not the only ones going through this stuff.
Right.
And sometimes when you're holding the light, you're in a group that is not quite as lit up. And that's on purpose, because what good would it do if you were all in a corner holding the light, you know?
Well,
So,
sometimes that would feel really good, I think.
yeah, I get you. I hear you. But someone may flip on our good news, and that'll put them back up into their light again to where they need to be, because they'll know they're not alone.
I
You
hope
know,
so.
and there's so many of us out here holding the light, talking the good news, but it's not newsworthy. So you have to find your own sources of this to where you know and you see that this is true.
Right. Absolutely. That's well said, well spoken. Well spoken. I think it is really important for people to know that that those of us that are on this path of awakening and spiritual ascension and consider ourselves, light workers or light bearers or light shiners, whatever you want to call that, we have tough times where we're just so human and things are just like, really, like we're saying. And I think that's important for other people to see, to know that spiritual ascension, that path of spiritual ascension is just not like, oh, we're all woo woo and happy and life is good all the time, because wow, it's not like that. It's about learning how to do what we just did today, overcome those hurdles and get back to the light as quick as possible. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And by people hearing us say that, that may keep them from saying, screw it,
yeah, that's for them. It's
right?
not for me. There's no way I can do that. So yeah, that's what I would have said.
Yeah, yeah,
Probably
yeah,
what
me
kept me
too,
from,
lots of times. Yeah,
yeah, it's probably what kept me from this path for so long. So
yeah.
well, I have been getting some feedback from some of our previous episodes that the favorite part is your meditations at the end, your guided
Oh,
meditations. That those are very refreshing and wonderful. So there's your setup to do an extraordinary one today in between worlds where you are.
thank you. Well, I'll see how extraordinary I can be in the back of my truck here.
Right?
Uh, okay. Um, Let me get my little my thoughts out of the way. Okay, so let's take a deep breath. Close our eyes. Take another deep breath into your heart, because this new world that we're entering into at this very moment is a heart world, a love world, a peace world. It's not a mind world, a brain world. It's bigger. It's bigger. It's a knowing world. So take a deep breath and shine your heart light. Everybody's got a heart light. Everybody's got a golden white light of the Christ light also. But we're going to shine out our heart light, and it'll be joined with our Christ light, and it fills our bodies. It fills our bodies. And if you were to look at yourself right now, you would see that you have the orb around you, a corona around you. And that's what you used to see with all the masters in the pictures they draw in the art. that is their light. They are constantly shining their light, and that's how we will be perceived. That's how we're already perceived on a certain level, because we continually shine our light, and it becomes more and more powerful. But when we see yourself in that orb, with that orb around you, and you're like encompassed in this beautiful, beautiful orb. And as you watch, you kind of see yourself, and you see yourself stumble a little bit, and you're crossing a bridge, and you're leaving one world and you're walking into another world. And as you walk across the bridge, you stumble every once in a while. And if you look around you, there are hands catching you every time you stumble. Hands of your ancestors, hands of the angels, hands of your guides, hands of Jesus. There are so many around you all the time. We are never, ever alone. So as you see yourself crossing this bridge, as you get past the halfway mark, and I suspect we are very, very close there, it becomes simpler. And you find that there's others with you, not just on the spiritual plane, but other of your fellow human beings with you, far more than you knew. And as we cross over, then the hands that were holding us up become entire entities, and we see all of those who are with us all of this time. And that's where our gratitude comes in. Take a breath, and we give such thanks that this is the outcome of this place that we're in right now. And that keeping our eyes on the prize, as they say, that's what keeps us going. Knowing that we have so many with us all the time. Oh my gosh, and we're hugging and laughing and crying and happy tears, and we're in the knowing that even though we're going to turn around and go back to where we actually are on that bridge, that we just lifted a weight off our shoulders, because we remembered who we are, where we're going. And that goes into our heart. And that is what comes up when we start to say, I quit. It's too much. I'm done. No, that comes back into our heart, our mind, our memory. And we remember that we are awakening, and that we are leading others into their awakening. So take another deep breath, seal that entire vision into your heart, and know that it is there whenever you need it. Another deep heart breath. And even when you come back to where you are, know that your corona is still all around you, and it always is. It gets brighter and brighter every time you say, amp it up, or light my light. Let's make a scene, whatever you like to say, to remind you that your light is shining and it's affecting millions. Another deep breath. Bring you and your light into the moment. And here we are.
My inner DJ is going, come on, baby, light my fire.
Good. That's perfect. That's perfect.
But that was, wow, I got tears. That was just beautiful. Two of my dogs in spirit came to me. My first dog, Gypsy, a Dalmatian, and then Max, the Otter Hound. And that was beautiful. They were there and jumping and licking me, and it was so wonderful.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So that was good news. That meditation was good news and gratitude. So
fantastic.
I have gratitude for this commitment we have to the good news. Thank you, Joann.
Me too. Namaste.